Hello, and welcome to episode 1 of the Very Best Podcast, an interview show focused on our personal connections to the Pokemon franchise and what it means to us. With me today is the host of the Max Frequency Podcast and co-host of Chapter Select with other friend, Logan Moore, Pokemon channeler, Max Roberts. Welcome to the show, Max.
Hey, Jared. What is your trainer class? How should I refer to you? Are you gym leader Jared?
No, man, you sprung this on me. I wish I would have done, let's see, what feels best? I'm just going to go through the Gen 1 Pokemon trainer classes. Let's go with, what feels right? Super Nerd. We'll go Super Nerd Jared.
Super nerd. Youngster Jared.
Man, I wish. About 20 years late on that one. Beauty. We'll go Beauty. Beauty Jared.
Beauty Jared. I love it. That's good. That's good right there.
This might be our first time podcasting in 3 years, I think. It's been a while.
It has been a while. You were
And I think it was me
supposed
guesting
to-
on your show.
It was. We last did a show together. Actually, not as long as you may think. It was June 17th of 2024. Episode 37. We talked about Xbox and the Summer Game Showcase. So that one, you know what? This was the one I think that Expedition 33 was revealed at or got very significant gameplay shown at. I remember you talking about that one there. So wasn't that long ago, actually. Just almost 2 years. Almost, I guess.
That might have been the
Yeah.
initial reveal of Expedition 33, which is wild to think about in hindsight, where we are now, years later.
Yes, considering where we are now, I think it was the first reveal.
But this isn't an Xbox show, Max. This is a Pokemon show. So what we're going to do is I have this set of 5 icebreaker questions for you, rapid fire, lightning style, called the Fast 5. It's not so much about you getting the answer right. It's just about what first pops up in your head. Now, to preface, there are right and wrong answers for some of these questions, and some of them are just vibes based. So just answer as quickly as possible, and just to get us into the groove of talking about Pokemon. Are you ready for the Fast 5?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Question 1. Name a Gen 1 Pokemon with no evolutionary line excluding Megas and Legendary Pokemon.
Ditto.
Correct. Your answers were Kangaskhan, Pinsir, Tauros, Ditto, and Aerodactyl. Question 2. What level does Haunter evolve into Gengar?
Oh, dang it. I don't know the level. I just know that you have to trade him.
Bing, ding, ding. I'll give you that one. Trick question. Evolves via trade. You don't need a hit level.
Okay.
Question number 3. What's the name of the glitch Pokemon found in Red, Blue, and Yellow?
Missing no.
Ding, ding, ding. Correct answer. Question 4. What's the newest Pokemon type? And for bonus points, what gen was it introduced in?
Fairy, and it was introduced. Oh. My brain says Scarlet and Violet, but it's probably Sword and Shield. But Fairy's the type for sure.
Ding, ding, ding. Very fast lightning answer there, Max. It was very correct. It was Gen 6, actually.
Oh, even older. Oh, X and Y, that's right.
X and Y, yep.
That's right. It was in that game.
Sylveon.
Okay. Yes. The whatever Pokemon with the hammer in Scarlet and Violet.
Tinkaton, my favorite in that gen. Yep.
It's a very good Pokemon. That's what I think of when I think of Fairy type now. But
question number 5. Name a Pokemon battle gimmick.
Battle gimmick. What do you mean by that? Okay, I know what you mean. Oh gosh, what is it called? They turn into like sparkly gems in Scarlet and Violet. What is it? Terra something or Mega?
I'll give you half
evolutions?
point. I'll give you Megas. Terrestrialize is what you're looking for. Other possible answers: double battles, Mega evolutions, Z moves, which was in Pokemon Sun and Moon, Dynamax / Gigantamax, which is in Sword and Shield, and Terrestrialize, which you just talked about. Yeah. Every gen has its gimmick, and I was curious to see. Real quick, to your point of Tinkaton, Fairy Steel type is one of the best dual typings in Pokemon, so it's really funny that they created this little cutesy with a giant war hammer that is just a menace. I love that.
It is
Pokemon so much.
It was very good on my team. I liked it very, very much. It can hit.
So you went 5 for 5. The one I thought was going to trip you up the most, honestly, was the Gen 1 with no evolutionary line. Not that you wouldn't know it, but you would answer something just and not remember, like maybe like lick a tongue or something. So I'm
True.
glad you answered with ditto. Real quick, I had this whole blue sky thing where I posted a skeet that
Oh,
I guess
gosh.
that's what we're calling them.
Please don't. No, just a post.
So
A
we have
post is okay.
Kangaskhan. Yeah, post. We have Kangaskhan. The Mega makes the baby bigger, and yet we still don't have like that thing doesn't really exist. It's just baby Kangaskhan. So I hope in Gen
Mhm.
10 we get a name for it in an actual pre-evolution for Kangaskhan because I think it's crazy. You have two different forms of this Pokemon with the baby that it has, and that baby doesn't have its own existence. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's very weird.
I that would be fun. I would like some more, pre-evolutions for some older Gen 1, Gen 2 Pokemon. I think that could be a fun avenue to explore. What does a baby
There's so much
Miltank
potential with
look like?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much potential even with like a Heracross evolution. We got his Mega, but I want like an evolution. Beetles are so sick. Everyone loves Heracross. Give us an evolution. Anyways, after that diatribe, let's get into our second segment, which is your first steps. So everyone remembers their first time with Pokemon. I just kind of want to talk to you about some of those first early memories. So, how did you first learn about Pokemon in general when you were a kid?
So, I was born in 94, and Pokemon feels like it's just kind of always been a part of my life. It's always been there given when I grew up. So I don't actually remember like the introduction to Pokemon. But my earliest memory of Pokemon was when I was 5 in 99, and I was very very much into the trading card game. I had, the binder filled with card, the whole kit and caboodle. And in Ohio where I was living at the time, kindergarten was 5 years old, and so I was taking a bus to school at 5. And one day, I was sitting in, I don't know, the back or the middle back, whatever, of the bus, with my friends trading and playing Pokemon cards, and I was so wrapped up in that event that I missed my bus stop. And when I pulled my head up, it was just at the end of the street. So, bus driver stopped. I didn't get off. And then I realized it at the end of my street. I mean, my house is just like right back there. And she said no, made me sit on the bus the entire remainder of the route, and then took me home. And then,
Jesus.
yeah, and then made me
You
sit.
learned your lesson, I guess. Good Lord.
I never missed my bus stop again, ever. And then I had to sit behind her for the remainder of the school year. Now, while that's more tied to a bus driver and not Pokemon, but I was so enamored with the game at the time, and that would go on into the video game when I would get Blue later on and things like that. But my earliest memory of Pokemon is the trading card game on the bus and collecting all of that.
Yeah, and I wanna say too, this podcast is about Pokemon in general, so it's not just focused on the games. I know most people have their touchstone there, but it's cool to hear about the trading card aspect, the anime, any part of Pokemon and how it touched your lives. And it's funny, I think everybody at one point in their life, if they rode the bus as a kid, had a bus driver that was a little bit all not there really. My bus driver as a kid was this lady named Gladys, and she ended up getting fired like a couple of years after I graduated because she would always speed.
Okay.
She'd drive very fast, and she didn't. No kids were ever harmed, but basically she was caught red-handed speeding with kids in her bus, and they were like, "Hey." She was also very old at that point. She was like in her 60s when I started riding her bus. So imagine by the time I graduated high school, she was an old lady. I don't even know why they had her driving a bus at that point, but shout out to
They need
crazy
bus
bus
drivers.
drivers.
They need
Exactly.
'em.
So you talked about getting Pokemon Blue. I imagine that was your first Pokemon game. And why did
It
you choose
was.
Blue over Red, or was it your choice?
I don't quite. I assume it was my choice at some point. It probably was my best friend at that time in elementary school, Philip. He had red.
Shout out Philip.
Shout out Philip. He had red, and so I imagine that probably was a part of my decision. Was like, oh, this will cover the bases. We'll have both.
Hell yeah.
And, you know, I like Blastoise a lot. I mean, I chose Bulbasaur and Venusaur always, but Blastoise looks pretty cool on the cart label there. You know, I know Charizard is fan favorite, but I like the way the blue looks.
It's interesting you say Bulbasaur was the one you went with, because I've noticed in my life a lot of people I get along with quite a bit are people who also were Bulbasaur starter people.
Well, I remember my buddy with his son. I guess he's now 4, but back when he was, I don't even think he was 1 yet. Maybe he was, but they got him, you know, all the starter plushes, and I provided the Bulbasaur, and his son went and picked Bulbasaur, much to the chagrin of his father, who wanted him to pick anything but Bulbasaur. So I've already influenced the youth to go forward and march toward better choices, you know?
Yeah, I love those videos, especially when a parent is like really invested in the choice they make, and they're like, "Please, God, I hope they pick this," and they don't. It's so funny. So you said you picked Bulbasaur. I don't know if we've mentioned it so far in the show, but the reason I had the Haunter question in the lightning round is because you've told me your favorite Pokemon is Gengar.
Yes.
The question I have for you though is, what was your the first? You know, you start the game, you talk to Professor Oak, he gives you the whole rundown, you get your Bulbasaur, you go out into the world. What was the first non-starter Pokemon you really got hooked to and fell in love with? Was it Gengar, or was it somebody else that like, I need to have this guy on my team when I go out there to do battle?
No, it was not Gengar at first, unfortunately. It was a far more, I think, generic young boy pick with Onyx. It's like big rock snake
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
Big rock snake good. And also you see one very early in the game, right? And then
Yeah.
of course the anime, he has a very cool representation just in the anime, and just he's huge, has a horn, he's made of rocks. It's just very cool. Onyx I don't think does very much, and I do think Steelix is cooler, but at the time big rock snake was the key to my heart at that particular age.
The cool thing though is Onyx lovers got, for their investment, they got a really good gift in Gen 2 with Steelix, like you mentioned, because there were 2 Pokemon that had huge glow ups, but one was more appreciated than the other. We got Onyx, who got Steelix, and then we got Scyther, who is like objectively cool as hell, right?
Oh,
and then
yeah,
they're like,
absolutely.
"Oh, we're gonna make this cool Pokemon cooler," and they gave us Scizor, which
Yes.
is like, okay, sounds a little unfair. Like, give somebody else some love, but yeah, Onyx is an interesting choice. I don't think I ever ran with Onyx. I think when I needed a rock type, I always preferred Graveler. For
Yes.
some reason, I never really had a
Graveler's cool.
choice to trade for a Golem. But yeah, Onyx was never my vibe, and I think it was the opposite, but the same reason why you said, because in the anime, Ash beats Onyx with Pikachu, which is a type disadvantage, and there's no reason Pikachu should win.
Impossible.
But of course, plot armor, Ash ends up winning, and I was like, wow, this guy can't even beat the type he should dominate. This is dumb. I'm not gonna take Onyx. So that's cool to hear. I was not expecting that answer. When you said like a typical basic thing, I thought you were gonna go with like Pidgeot, which even though it is a normal flying type, I still think Pidgeot is a cool design for a bird Pokemon.
Yeah.
And
Set
then
the
for years
standard.
after that, exactly, years after that, guys who would get a certain haircut would be like, hey, you got the Pidgeotto haircut, you know what I mean? So it's really funny. Next up, talking about memories. This can come from any aspect of Pokemon, any point in your life. It could be a birthday gift. It could be, like you pointed out, maybe it is that bus memory. What is your favorite memory specifically tied to Pokemon? And the other thing I wanted to mention is it could be something maybe in the future of maybe you have an opportunity to set those 3 starter Pokemon and see what happens there in terms of a choice.
This is very true. I'm sure I will have many more favorite memories in my future. My daughter is 3 right now, so I haven't really introduced her to video games. I think I'm waiting until 4 or 5, and we'll see what happens from there when Pokemon enters the picture. This is a surprisingly, and I imagine most of your guests will have similar feelings. This is a very surprisingly difficult question. I have so many that I could choose. I kind of had 3 written down, and so here in the moment, I'm going to pick one to commit. And it's actually a more recent one, which is a couple of years ago. I did a season of Chapter Select, one of my podcasts with Logan, all about the core mainline Pokemon games. And before we did that season, I hadn't really played most of them due to different circumstances in my life. That's a different core memory. So you'll have to go listen to find out what that is. But at the time, we decided, well, since we're playing all these games anyway, let's go ahead and also make a series where we battle in each one. So at the end of each game, we'll put our teams together and we'll battle. And what we originally thought was just going to be maybe, at the time, maybe 4, maybe 5 videos, because of the only Wi-Fi available games at the time would have been anything on Switch, and I think 3DS servers were and still are up. So we're like, oh, we'll film those. But we actually managed to do every single game because we happened to be in town together for games like Heart Gold and Soul Silver, Fire Red and Leaf Green. We were able to play everything together, Black and White. And so I never was into competitive Pokemon, and as the battle series kind of goes on, I do not do well. And for comparison, my co-host, Logan, been playing Pokemon his entire life and is quite good. Like, at the start of this, I couldn't remember the type chart. Like, I would have to look up the type chart just to know, like, oh, which one beats one, or help remind myself. And so after getting my butt handed to me pretty swiftly in the first 5 or so rounds of this 10-round series, I was like, I need to knuckle up here, and I want to win. I want to push it. And so I started digging into the competitive meta of each game and each battle type, and started grooming my teams and picking what I was going to set out to get in the games before I go. I even, when we did Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, when we did those games, I mean, I even fell down the rabbit hole of trying to IV farm and started breeding.
You went deep.
Oh, yeah, no, I went deep. I was breeding Garchomps to, like, I was really, really, really trying. And not to, like, spoil the whole thing if anyone decides to go watch it, but we've brought it, after, I think it was 1 to 4 was kind of where, like, the midpoint was. I did, like, a 4 in a row-ish sweep, and we're currently tied at 5-5. But the pulling off the victory in Black and White 2, which was the last game we played, was so thrilling. Don't
really spoil it. I would like people to go listen to it and watch it and check it out.
Yeah. So everyone, you should go watch. It's super duper fun. I'll give Jerrad the YouTube playlist. But what
the link will be in the description on YouTube for anybody interested.
There you go. What I think's so special about it, and why I chose this memory, is I think that it encapsulates the core of Pokemon, which is someone setting out on a journey and getting better over time alongside their friends, and, like, making these bonds with Pokemon and getting better, and, to crib a line to become the best like no one ever was. And that was, I really think I encapsulated that, going from someone who couldn't remember the type chart all of the way to someone who's digging into competitive metas and crafting a team specifically to, win, which is super fun. And so our eventual goal is, since we are in a tied state, is to do what we've been calling the Great Migration, which is to trade up everything from our DS titles all the way into Pokemon Home, so that when Champions comes out, we could do a final tiebreaker battle in Champions with, like, a team assembled from all of our other teams, like some sort of amalgamation there. So that would be my core memory of choice.
That's an awesome memory. For those who don't know, Logan Moore, who will be a future guest on this show, he's a very competitive person. I play a lot of stuff with him, so it's like, fantasy football, other thing. Like, he's very competitive, so it makes sense that he got you there. And then he set you on this like villain training arc, which I think is awesome. To be inspired to be like, no, people can decide not to be competitive or fight back for whatever reason. I'm not going to judge anybody for that. But I do love this idea that you got beat and you're like, you know what? I'm never losing again. I'm going to go into this. I'm going to research. I'm going to figure out what works, what doesn't work. And to tell you the truth, I don't even really EV/IV train. If you were to have like a scale, and on one side it was collector and the other side it was battler in terms of like the person you are as a Pokemon fan, I'd much more lean on the collector side. I do get competitive because I also am a competitive person with battling, but I am not like in there on the online rankings battling people, trying to min-max move sets and all that. It's awesome to hear that you did that, and it's cool that you guys are tied now because it's set up, like you said, this eventuality in this upcoming game to kind of put all the stakes on the table and see who really does come out on top. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And to be clear, Diamond and Pearl was the one time I did that. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't go this deep every time. I can't do that every game. But it's really fun. I had a ton of fun doing it and really getting to know these games and their battle mechanics and the Pokemon in there and learning like team balance. And primarily we played doubles once those became like a thing. So it was like, well, how can I build unique dynamic pairs?
And synergistic.
It's a fun time. Yeah. Whole thing. It's great.
It's awesome that Pokemon, and this is another reason why I think a lot of people love it, is it's as shallow or as deep as you want it to be in a lot of different ways. You can go in there, I like these like certain handful of Pokemon. Those are the only ones I'm going to care about catching. I'm going to use them. Or I want a living dex. I'm going to try to catch every Pokemon, put them in Pokemon Home. They're going to be my own specific versions of those Pokemon. Same thing with battling. You can be like, I just want to play the battles in the game, get past it, beat the game. Or I want to be a competitive battler. I want to EV/IV train, all that stuff. It's really cool that it allows people to approach it the way they want to. I think that's kind of special. Next segment. The Elite Four. So this is a set of unique questions. They're not specifically picked for you, Max, but they're questions I probably won't ask other people. They're going to be more unique unless I run out of ideas and I recycle them. So the first question, I did provide Max with a lot of these so he could have some prep time to have answers so he wasn't just going off the top of the dome, especially for some of these like the core memory thing where it gives you time to think about what it is. You said you had multiple choices, and I'm glad you chose one you did because it was cool hearing about that experience with Logan. So here are your 4 questions. The first one is a little bit lengthy, so I'm just going to say the question. You can go ahead and present it however you would like, Max. So I gave Max the question. You're a Kanto region gym leader. What's your type, range of levels, and team? Is it up to you how many Pokemon are on your team? And those are the only parameters I assigned you. What is your answer there, Max?
All right. Well,
sorry, gym leader, Max. Apologies.
Channeler. I'll take Channeler. I'm definitely a late game gym leader. I don't like these. Basically, I'm the champion or your rival. 6. I got 6. I don't want none of this 5, 4, 3. None of that. No. Full team. I want the full setup. We look to Agatha, who is described as the ghost gym leader. But there's technically only 3 ghost Pokemon in Gen 1, and it's the same. That's
a whole side
line.
Conversation we can have. Yeah. What an issue.
So, she's all padded out with 2 Gengars and a Haunter. So thrilling. But we have to have my boy Gengar in there.
For sure.
Gengar, absolutely. But the mix that I like with it is Poison, which is kind of a natural pairing there, and then also some flying. I basically like fast Pokemon, but who also can drag turns out or do chip damage over time. I want to eat away at you as much as possible while also hitting you quickly. So I think these, hopefully, in my head, these all balance out. It's been a while, but we got Gengar for both Ghost and Poison. Could theoretically put you to sleep if there's a hypnosis in there with a nightmare or whatever the Dream Eater thing is. And so there's some opportunities there to slow you up and chip away at you. One of my loves from Gen 1, Dragonite, I've spent far too much time in the casino and in the Safari Zone to get a Dratini for Dragonite, so you gotta have a Dragonite in there. I put Beedrill in there, which is not a common one for me, but speed, bug, poison could be interesting. The team may be too heavily leaned into poison because I also have my beloved Venusaur. I am a starter all the way kind of purist as much as possible. And so another poison type there. But Venusaur has some flexibility with the different powders, but can also hit pretty hard depending on, I guess, if it's just Gen 1 straight out of the cart, not so much, but I like that. Then I've got my other love from Gen 1. Definitely this is like you're getting a picture of that 6-7-year-old Max mindset. Out of the trio of birds, we've got Zapdos. Flying and the electricity for paralysis. Again, lock you up whenever I can, chip over time, that sort of thing. I love my Zapdos. I did make the foolish decision as a child to give it Fly and eat up an entire slot, but that's the errors of youth. And then last but not least, to kind of hopefully round it out, I wanted to put someone who's a bit more of a tank in there and different types to help balance it out in case I get in some sort of pickle. I chose Slowbro, mostly because I haven't really used a Slowbro before, not really been a part of a team dynamic that I've built before. But I think the water and psychic pairing and a little bit of weight behind it would kind of round it out. And I think technically later in other generations, Slow King maybe. Well, no, he's psychic here. Doesn't matter. Yeah, so I think that kind of rounds it out. If I were to switch anything out, I'd find someone to replace Beedrill. I think I'm like the least attached to that one.
What's interesting because if you look at in terms of like a general vibe of your team, Venusaur, Beedrill, Gengar, and there was another one. You said Gengar, Dragonite, Beedrill, Venusaur, Zapdos, Slowbro. Yeah, so Slowbro, Venusaur, Beedrill, and Gengar are all like a little bit like creepy weirdos, I would say, in terms of their vibes overall.
Yeah.
Being bugs, toads, that. And then you have the cool factor with Zapdos, and then you said Dragonite, correct? Or did you say Dragonair?
No, Dragonite. Yeah, all the way.
Yeah, so he's not necessarily a creep, but he is a weirdo.
He's a doof. He's a doof.
Yeah, he's a doof. So it's interesting because at first I would be like, oh, it's like a bunch of creeps with Dragonite there. You know what I mean? They're cool on cool. But then you throw Zapdos in, and Zapdos is so cool. So I would say you have a very balanced team. I would say you're probably not a gym leader. You're closer to, like you said, like an Elite Four member because you have like a dynamic team that isn't necessarily. I know Elite Four is stuck to one type as well, but you would. In the real, quote unquote, real version of Pokemon, you would assume that the Elite Four is not like based on one type. Doesn't really make sense. You know what I mean? They're the greatest trainers in the region. They all still also use the same type. I like your team. And what levels did you say? I'm assuming since it's late game, like 60s.
Yeah, it's in that ballpark.
And this is something I didn't write in there, but I thought it was funny. If you were to be a gym leader, would you want to have one of those annoying gimmicks that people have to go through to get to you, or would you just be like,
"Oh, absolutely,
I'm here.
You gotta earn it."
Okay,
you gotta earn it.
So would it be?
But also,
you said you like speed a lot. So would it be like do you remember in the hideout for Team Rocket, the little arrow things that you had to go on? Would it be something like that then?
Yeah, that's actually perfect because the idea of that, I would think, is to wear out the opponent before they even get to you. Mentally exhaust them, physically exhaust them. If they're spinning around on those conveyor belts, make them a little sick, you know? Plus the nerves of facing a gym leader in this type of scenario, or the Elite Four. I like that. Yeah, I want to tax you before you even get to me.
Ooh, and then throw in like a haunted house vibe where you can have like, because you have a lot of guys who are scary in the dark, right? Even Dragonite, as doofy as he is, if you saw that thing in a dark alleyway, it'd freak you out a little bit. You know what I mean?
It would.
Yeah. So Zapdos too would be scary as hell. So like a haunted house vibe with those, exhaust people mentally and physically. I like that.
That's the goal.
Next up, this one is open to interpretation. You could disagree with me or not. I just wanted to throw this out there. Explain to me, why is Pokemon Soul Silver Heart Gold the best pairing of games in the entire series?
My first bullet that I wrote down to myself was, is it really the best?
Interesting. Okay.
This is I think I would actually assume that most people you talk to about Pokemon, including guests on the future episodes of the show, knee-jerk reaction might be a more emotional one. And depending on when they were born and what they grow up playing, Soul Silver and Heart Gold could very well be it. But because of the way that I really played Pokemon, I missed Gold and Silver and Crystal and Sapphire and Ruby and Emerald. Like, I missed that whole era, really. And I didn't come back to Pokemon until Diamond and Pearl. And then I missed the rest of the DS era. And I played a little bit of X. And then didn't play... I don't even think I got Sword and Shield at launch. So yeah, I really didn't play much. I think the next main Pokemon game I sunk my teeth into was Legends Arceus. And so I don't have this emotional attachment to Soul Silver and Heart Gold. But when I went back and played it, when you look at it from both just a technical perspective and just a game design perspective, it is, I think, by far the most grand Pokemon game, and it's the most RPGious in the sense of, like, you are going on a quest. And I think in part of that is because it is the two regions in one game, and that feels like a moment they just haven't been able to replicate, like to truly. It's surprising. I think even to this day, it's surprising. And gosh, if you could go in and not know, what a treat that would be, I think, to have the game suddenly open up again and it be the place from the first game, the one that you just finished playing. I think that would actually be mind-blowing to experience even to this day. And with that, the game goes much deeper, right? You're higher levels. You're not just stopping in the mid-50s at the end of the game or the low 60s. You're getting up into the 70s, the 80s. You're really pushing it. But because of that, the game's also like the grindiest. You got to push. And they have I think an elegant solution, especially in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, with the whole phone system, and you're calling up and rematching people in a strange way. It's almost like the Nemesis system from those Shadows of Mordor games that WB, was it Montreal? But they made those where these orcs would remember you, and you would have this Nemesis system. It's cool to go back and fight people multiple times and see how their teams change over time and how you grow and level up and get your RPG. So it goes well. But kind of overall what I thought is if I was to say definitively that they're the best in the series, I think it's because they're a game of, like, stacking strides is what I wrote down, meaning Gold and Silver, the original ones, like, Game Freak was clearly had something right with the anime, the card game, and Blue and Red, and then they just refined it and made it this grand epic thing with Gold and Silver. And then when you go back to remake them on the DS era, they were still in this superb stride coming off of Emerald, Diamond and Pearl. They really had the DS under wraps, kind of technologically speaking. And then you go ahead and remake your two previous best games, and maybe Emerald is depending again on your audience, I think. But they just really, it was like, let's take these really great games and remake them in a great way. And so you kind of get this double effect of like, bam, bam. You might say it's super effective, but they're really great. And I think another element is they haven't been touched since. Like, we've never gone back to Johto in that way. And I think the fan base is starting to itch a little bit for it. And so we'll see whenever they decide to go back, but it's certainly been a long time.
Yeah, and I think a part of it too is that, Omega Red and Alpha Sapphire were also good, but it is far and away the best remake of one of the gens we've had. I really did not like the Gen 4 remakes that we got recently, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. I thought, and I don't know if a lot of it has to do with the chibi design style.
Not a chibi fan?
No. Also, like, I yearn, how the children yearn for the minds. I yearn for the sprite-based designs.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I really dislike about the whole Switch 2 era is that instead of doing the Zelda thing where we're still getting the 3D Zeldas, but we're also getting the top-down ones, obviously not as often, but we still do get them. Whether they're, I guess they've mostly been remakes, really, outside of the Zelda game that recently came out. I wish they still did that same thing where we still got the sprite-based Pokemon, but we also got the ones we're getting now, the 3D-based ones.
Yeah.
And I do think it's the best culmination of, like, the best mechanics they added from the original game up until when these remakes came out without it feeling like it got bloated, in addition to, like I said, the sprite-based designs. I just think it's, maybe saying it's the best one isn't the right verbiage, but to me, I think it's the best core. Like, if you were to dilute Pokemon into a core experience, I think it is Soul Silver and Heart Gold. Obviously, there's stuff you can add and quality of life features and stuff, but like, if somebody's like, I never played a Pokemon game, if you wanted me to play anyone in the series for the first time, I would say Soul Silver, Heart Gold. Like, the nostalgia in me wants to say Fire Red, Leaf Green because it's Gen 1. You should start with Gen 1. But I do think Soul Silver, Heart Gold is like the definitive best starting place if somebody wants to get a feel for what Pokemon used to feel like versus what it is in the modern era without having to go too far back. Because it is, old game is old for some people. And I think it is like as far back as you can go with it still feeling modern-ish, if that makes sense.
That's interesting. I would say I do miss the pixel art era. I think the sprites, especially for the Pokemon, just look infinitely
Some of them
better.
just look weird in 3D. Like, they just look odd.
I think the work that they were able to do with Black and White and Black and White 2 just looks superb. And Heart Gold and Soul Silver truly are beautiful games, and they've aged incredibly well. So I definitely agree with you there. It's interesting to even think about that. Maybe that's a question, you could use in this section later on for a future guest. I'd be fascinated to hear the other people's answers to this. But like, what is, someone comes up to you and it's like, what game should I play? What would be the best starting place? That's such a fascinating question when you think about it, because I think in some scenarios, Let's Go Pikachu Eevee is the appropriate answer.
100%, yeah.
Or even a Scarlet and Violet, just because of seeing the Pokemon in the overworld and it being so different from old things. But this is clearly like where Pokemon's going. It's a fascinating question. Or do you go all the way back? I don't know. Or maybe do you say X and Y? I don't know. That's an interesting question, and it definitely would say a lot about both the person recommending it and the person asking, where should I start?
And I think that's where it's dependent, is you knowing the other person, where like if you don't know the person all too well, it's going to be a different answer than like well, I know Max. I know kind of the things he likes in certain video games, the things he doesn't like, that type of thing. Like, if you're asking me, well, what game should my daughter start with? I think Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee is a slam dunk start because it's the most child friendly. As much as we love, Red and Blue, they are a little obtuse when you go back and look at him. Like, I'm surprised I was able to get through those games because I didn't get a guide until Yellow came out. I kind of just bashed my head against the wall, walked through Diglett Cave with no flash, just in the dark, figuring it out.
Oh my gosh, it's so
like a lunatic.
brutal.
Yeah. I like that question though. I will ask that too. I don't know if it'll be what guest it'll be, but I like that of like if you were to suggest a Pokemon game to somebody who's asking for their first Pokemon experience, what would you choose? And to the other point, you're talking about Black and White. Those to me are the second best games in the series. Not necessarily my favorite, but in terms of quality, like I love that you have to start that game using the new Pokemon. That's my own personal rule whenever I start a new Pokemon generation, is I'm not allowed to use Pokemon from any other generation. I have to build a team with that gen's Pokemon. A, because I want to learn about the new Pokemon.
Yeah.
And B, for me personally, I don't find value in playing a new Pokemon generation, just retreading the same thing I've done a million times. So I want to try to find, okay, this guy can use this move. Like, okay, I need to find somebody that can use false swipe so it's easier to catch Pokemon. Who is going to be my guy for this? Who's going to be, you know what I mean? I think that's more interesting for me personally. And I like that Black and White did that, where they're like, no, you have to play through this game only seeing the new Pokemon, and you don't get access to the other ones until later, which I thought was dope.
Part of me wonders how the fan base would respond to something like that today. Considering
riots.
the level of, but considering the level of complaints that we get for not having a complete decks, complete national decks or what
available
have you in certain games. Yeah, it's like, could you imagine? You're not allowed to look at any old Pokemon until you beat the game. I could just see it going poorly. It was a bold decision at the time, and I think the right one, and it makes those games stand out as very unique. And the fact that we had direct sequel as well makes them super unique, and the themes in those games, Black and White and Black and White 2, are excellent choices. And again, they are kind of locked to one system, and hilariously, when everyone thought that those would be the next I mean, they still could be the next remakes, but everyone was kind of like, oh, the next game, whatever, will be will be one of those. And then we got ZA, which skipped right over it to X and Y, which was very, very funny.
It makes sense though. Like Gen 6 is largely regarded as the quote unquote worst generation. So I think making a smaller game where they can experiment with the active battling system and all of that, they're like, well, let's use this town. And obviously that gen offers a Paris-like town in Lumio City, which was the perfect setting for that story they wanted to tell. And I think maybe they want to do a little bit more with, because they're so beloved, the Gen 5 remakes of Black and White. And I'm excited for Gen 10. But I could just imagine Gen 10 coming out, and then the following year we're getting Black and White remakes. Would be incredible. Anyways, that was a long answer, but I appreciate us talking about Pokemon Soul Silver Heart Gold. I was curious to see where you'd go with it, and I like how you answered that question. Next up, people love talking about their cutesy little Pokemon, their strong Pokemon. But I want to know, excluding evolutions, we're talking about base form only. To you, Max, what is the ugliest starter Pokemon?
So, I looked at the list today. I was scrolling through. And you know what? I landed on Poplio. Like, it's just a clown seal. I don't know if I need this in my life.
That's funny.
That's kind of where I landed up. Trico was a close one though.
So Poplio was your choice. It's hard because they're on purpose designed to be super adorable, right? Super cute. And it's hard to find one that's a little bit of a no-go. Oftentimes, it's all the middle evolutions. It's a weird, awkward teenager, right? Like, I think Charmeleon is hideous. I think it's an ugly Pokemon. I think Wartortle is ugly as well. This is a little bit of my bias showing, but I do think Ivysaur is a cool-looking middle evolution. It's one of the few that I think is cool-looking. Out of that line, Ivysaur is my favorite because you have the bulb, you have the bulb on the back, the flower comes out, but it still retains a lot of Bulbasaur, Whereas like Charmeleon gets a weird forehead and a lot of stuff changes. I do like your answer, Popplio. I'm looking at them now. I didn't actually even consider this myself of what I would think I would answer. Popplio is a really solid choice. The only other one I could see a case for would be Snivy, and it's pretty much just because it never has like a joyous expression on it. It always looks like a little peeved. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to have this little. It's like a cat that always wants to scratch you and fight you. You know what I mean? It's like, what's the point of having a pet like that? You know what I mean? Other than that,
no,
it's hard.
it was really Trico, Snivy, and Popplio were my like three kind of choices. I thought about Froakie as well a little bit, but decided to go with Popplio.
Yeah, he has those two little like white ball nose things.
Yeah,
Froakie, not great.
it's just a straight up clown nose, and I don't want that. I don't want any of that. You know, I don't need that on a Pokemon. Seal flipper, you know, I get he's a seal, but no, I don't want none of that. And I know
It's
we're not supposed.
Go ahead.
What was it? I know we're not supposed to consider the other evolutions, but I don't think Popplio has a very good line.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is Prima? I don't even remember the final evolution's name. That might be considered the worst evolutionary line of any of the starters. Because I don't know anybody who loves anybody in that line at all.
Yeah, it's not. It's like a mermaid.
It's like a clown
seal.
mermaid. Yeah, it's like a clown mermaid thing. It's like, what a bold choice.
Yeah, I don't want none of that.
I like your answer though. I'm curious. I might reuse that question because I'm just curious to see what Pokemon people think are ugly because everyone has their own ideas of design and stuff. Lastly, you might have already said this throughout our whole conversation we've had for these last 40-ish minutes. What is the last Pokemon game you finished? And by finish, I don't mean like collecting them all. For me, like if you were to say, did you finish Pokemon Red and Blue? It's like, did you beat the Elite Four and become Pokemon champion? I wouldn't consider catching Mewtwo or fighting Red. None of that. What is the last Pokemon game you yourself, Max, finished?
It was Pokemon Black 2. December 23rd of 2023 is when I rolled credits on Black 2.
And what was the last Pokemon game you played? Even for a second, dip your toe in.
Oh, even for a second? Okay, that makes things a little easier. It was probably then Scar. It was probably Violet or Arceus because I want to say in 24, I discovered that while I don't have my original save in Pokemon Blue, which, you know, included my level 100 Venusaur and the like, I discovered that my Stadium cartridge had 3 Pokemon saved on it in like a rental capacity from my Pokemon Blue, which was a level 100 Lapras, a level 100 Gengar, and a level 100 Mew that I obtained through the Mew glitch. And I went on a mission to get them off of that cartridge and into Pokemon Home. And that was a pretty fun journey to like figure out how I can extract that data and do it. So it was probably like during that process was probably the last time I played a Pokemon game, I think.
Next up, had you do some homework, team building exercise. So I had Max pick a fictional character. It could be from video games, books, film, television, and I wanted him to build the perfect Pokemon team from 3 to 6 Pokemon for that chosen character. We're not going the scorched earth Max method of min-maxing and training IVs here. We're focusing solely on what fits the character's vibes, the personality. You're like, oh yeah, he would have that Pokemon if he existed in the world of Pokemon. And I got a little bit jealous because Max chose this character based on him recently watching the movie, and I haven't watched this film in, God, maybe more than a decade, even though it's one of my favorite comedies of all time, and that is the one and only Napoleon Dynamite. Awesome choice, Max.
Well, it was very inspired because my wife and I were trying to pick a movie to watch, and she wanted either a comedy or an action movie. And going through, and I saw, you know, I bought Napoleon Dynamite at some point. I'm like, we could watch this if you want. And she's like, oh, I've never seen that. And I kind of did the whole blinking face thing. I was like, huh? We've known each other for how long? 12 years or whatever. I've never made you watch Napoleon Dynamite. So we watched that, and yes, it holds up just just as well as you remember. It's very, very funny. And when I left, I was like, we should pick Pokemon for Napoleon.
And just to give some people some examples so they understand what we're going for here, I wrote down some examples of, Braviary for Captain America. You got Weezing for Walter White. Zoroark for Atreus, if you're familiar with the God of War franchise. Some of those a lot more understanding without knowing the character and just the design of the character. So we're going to start off. I have three, but if you want to start first, Max, you can give us the first one. Who is Napoleon Dynamite's first Pokemon on his roster?
Greninja.
Interesting. Okay.
He
Why is
talks
that?
about having nunchuck skills and fighting skills and karate skills, and I imagine he would like to be a ninja and be stealthy. And so I chose Greninja. I thought about like a Hitmonchan or Hitmonlee, or the other two, the Throw and the red and blue, whatever. But I chose Greninja because I think he would like a ninja.
Here's the thing. To me, that feels like the dream Pokemon Napoleon would want to have. There's no way he's catching that thing, dude. I guess maybe he catches Froakie and evolves it, but like, I cannot imagine. It's too cool for him in some ways, but it is exactly the one
true.
he'd want the most.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is a comedy one. It kind of writes itself. I chose Miltank. We have that whole scene where he's tasting the milk. Him with the milk tank fits. It just does. It's a doofy Pokemon. He tastes milk for a living. He loved, going out there and doing the 4-H competitions. It fits for me.
I like that one a lot. I wish I had thought of that.
You did mention Miltank earlier, so I was like, oh, maybe he had it
true.
on his mind.
No, I mean, who doesn't have Miltank on their mind? My next pick, I wanted something that was llama-esque.
There's no llama Pokemon. I was looked.
I know. So I chose a long-necked Pokemon in a Faradraff, the most recent Scarlet and Violet evolution for the other draft Pokemon. Who's Girafarig. So the inverse of that. So I chose one of those because it has a very long neck. And he could say, Faradraff, come here, eat your dinner, you fat lord.
Craziest thing, if you look up llama Pokemon, you know what Pokemon comes up?
No, I didn't even Google it.
Arceus, the god of all Pokemon, which I don't consider a llama. It's the closest in llama shape.
I mean, sure. I mean, it was more like a deer, I suppose, like a four. I mean, whatever.
Napoleon having the god of Pokemon is also hilarious.
That would be pretty good.
I went to your point, though. We had to pick a Tina, right? Tina, you fat lard, eat your dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking through it, and I was like, it has to be Go-Goat, because he's like the largest, quadrupedal Pokemon that eats grass. He's made of grass. Goats chew like a llama chews. So I'm with Go-Goat. Also, it'd be hilarious watching Napoleon ride Go-Goat places. Just a really funny image to me.
I have some choices here, and in my head, there's a lot of horse Pokemon. I'm just picturing him ride a Keldeo to Kip's wedding.
Oh, God, that is so good.
I chose Keldeo because on his door he has a unicorn crossing sign. And this, while there's some that look more unicorny, this one felt the most Napoleon with the big,
so good,
almost afro hair, the horn. It's majestic. It's the kind of thing I think that he would go for. So I chose a Keldeo.
That's a good pick. You mentioned my last pick earlier. I picked Sock and Throw. I figured he would own one, his brother would have the other. Whoever has which.
Training to be an MMA fighter.
Yeah. One of them would have Sock, one of them might have Throw. I just put karate guys. Makes sense.
Yeah, they are very good. Do you want? I had some more, but if you want to balance it out with the 6, I'm content. We can leave people in mystery if you would like.
Sure. Choose whatever one you think is most fitting to round out our team, because we kind of built this together.
Yeah. I so here's the thing. I I think he would have an Eevee, and he'd be a big, like, Eevee head. He'd be like,
Real
Eevee
ones
can
don't
turn.
evolve their EV.
So, well, that would be his answer to people why he hasn't evolved his Eevee. And he would talk about how, like, powerful Eevee is when it's turned into a Vaporeon or Flareon or whatever. But he can never get the stone. Like,
Good
he
point,
can't
yeah.
actually get it to transform it. But, he'd be, Umbreon is so dark and misty. I could just picture him talking all about all the evolutions, but never actually doing
Committing. That's Napoleon, yeah.
committing to the evolution itself.
Here's the thing. If I'm being honest, I think my picks were good in the sense that they were related to aspects of the movie. But I do think that you made better picks in terms of Napoleon at his core. Like Greninja makes sense. Keldeo perfectly makes sense. He's not going to ride a Go-Go. He's going to, if he has a chance to ride a weird unicorn, he's going to ride that. And then your last pick there, I really enjoyed your choices. I think we handled both aspects of Napoleon Dynamite as a character. I think we did pretty well.
Very nice.
I have bonus picks. So for Deb, who's the I would say the main female character in the movie, she always rocks a side ponytail, gets harassed by Uncle Rico. I picked Furfro. I thought that was a pretty easy pick. She likes fashion. She likes dressing things up. Furfro is obviously known for being the Pokemon that you can style in a bunch of different ways. I thought that was pretty good. Pedro, as a fellow Latino, I thought it would be a little bit racist to do like Halucha or somebody. Ludicolo. That was a little weird.
Incineroar.
And I figured... Exactly. That's more pro wrestling, but yeah, close enough. For Pedro, I picked Psyduck. I think Psyduck shares a lot of energy with Pedro. I think he has the same vibes. He's just there. You know what I mean? Everyone loves him. He's just there. He doesn't really do much, but people just love him all the same. Pedro.
All your wildest dreams will come true.
Yeah, that was fun. We're going to go to a little bit of a negative. I wouldn't necessarily say negative, maybe optimist because you want this to happen. This segment is called Forced Evolution. Very simple. If you could change anything about the Pokemon franchise, what would it be? In the games, in the trading cards, anything.
So I was thinking about this today, and it just kind of like dawned on me while I was writing, answering other questions. Like, oh, this is obviously the thing that I would change. And you can tell me if this is maybe breaking the rules or is unintended. But my answer would be to change the fan base's opinion that generations are tied to battle mechanics instead of the actual games and Pokédexes themselves. The correct answer is the games themselves, not the battle mechanics. You cannot and will not convince me that, where is it? That Fire Red and Leaf Green are Gen 3. That's just not going to happen. Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee are Gen 7? No. Gen 1. Heart Gold, Soul Silver, they're Gen 2. No. Get out.
Hard agree. Yeah, I like your stance.
Whew. All right, that's good. You're one of me.
One of us. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I just sometimes I talk to people and they're like, "No, generations are tied to the mechanics." I'm like, "No. You're crazy."
That's like a very uninspired view of them. That's like calculated under lab lights. Like, yeah, I don't agree with that.
To me, generation, just the word itself, we're conveying a new generation, a new group of Pokemon, like a new lineage. How the fighting changes doesn't really matter. You could come up with a term for that, but having when someone says Gen 1, it should mean all of the versions of the first game. Blue and red,
Let's
fire red,
go,
leaf green,
fire
and let's
red,
go.
yeah.
Like those things should all come together, not be tied to obligatory battle mechanics that change as the franchise goes on and game design changes. I think those are, you can't redefine generation to me.
Well, so Arceus, that I would consider that just a Legends game. Well, I guess you're talking about mainline anyway, so it's irrelevant. But
Right.
you know, somebody would argue like, oh, it's a Gen 4 game. It's like, well, no, not really. The Legends game. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it's dumb. I think it's just people trying to argue semantics for some reason. I don't know. It's dumb. I like that answer though. I thought you were going to go more pointed towards like they need to fix this part about how they make the games or like this or that. I like that answer. It's out of the box.
I'll take it.
Next up, this is your chance to ask me a question. It's called Return to Sender. Is there anything you'd like to ask me about Pokemon, my relationship with it, anything else? Maybe you want me to answer one of the questions I asked you earlier. Maybe it's like the forced evolution that we just answered or anything in between.
Well, am I limited to, I guess, this doesn't count. Am I limited to one question?
Let's say max 3, just for time's sake.
Okay. All right. Well, good. I had 4 written down, and you answered one of them already, so we're good. Well, the lighter, more casual one. What is your favorite Pokemon spinoff?
Favorite spinoff. Okay, so what I will say, funny that you asked me this, I've never played any of the Mystery Dungeon games, and that's one of my goals for 2026 in gaming is to play some of those, because obviously they're regarded as some of the best spinoff games, if not best Pokemon games. So I want to check those out this year. So those won't be on my list. Nostalgically, I would say, Stadium could be in there, Snap could be in there. But honestly, they aren't going to hold a candle to... It really comes down to Arceus and ZA. I think if I had to compare them, I would say Arceus, just because I loved the time travel aspect and what that meant to the series and the way it introduced variations on evolutions. ZA at its core, I love the idea. I just wish the city was built more dynamically, but I like the active battle system. I thought it offered something new and refreshing. Some of the aspects of the mechanics got a little tedious, especially with the recent DLC that came out. Yeah, I would say Arceus because it was so... I guess the word I would use is refreshing to what we expect from Pokemon. So it'd be Arceus. But I guarantee you, if you ask me this a year from now and I've played the Mystery Dungeons, it might be one of those. Who knows, that Pokopia survival game, I don't think it's going to be very good, but I'm going to check it out. But maybe, who knows? Maybe that lands a spot. But yeah, I would say that unofficial spin-off games, it'd be that really good Pokemon mod that came out for Minecraft like 10 years ago. Okay. Pokécraft or whatever. That was cool.
There you go. That's a good time. As someone who has played 2 of the Mystery Dungeon games, Blue Rescue Team and Explorers of Time, they're very good. I've played them once when they came out, so, however long ago that was. But Explorers of Time in particular, I am quite fond of.
What's your second question?
My other one was this year, at least when we're recording this, 2026 is the 30th anniversary of Pokemon. And so I was kind of curious what your hopes are for this year. If there's like a certain announcement you're looking forward to, or some big thing you want. Yeah.
So excited for Gen 10. If it's based off of what the leaks are saying, it's based off of Wind and Wave. It's very interesting. My hopes for that is I hope, like we talked about with Soul Silver and Heart Gold, that there's an aspect of it post-game where you get to go to another region. And my heart hopes that you get to go back to Kanto. My brain says it'll probably be something similar to what we got in the DLC for Scarlet and Violet, where it's like, yeah, it's in another region, but it's not, you're like on a floating thing that has no, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
has no connection to it, because The Blueberry Academy, I think, is technically in the Unova region of Gen 5, but like you don't go anywhere in Gen 5. So that would be that. I hope they come out with some Lego sets now that Pokemon is officially under Lego that aren't $5,000 and that feature Pokemon I'm excited for. Like, I would get that Venusaur in an instant if he was sold by himself, even if it was a little bit pricier. I can't pay $650 for all three of them. That's crazy to me.
It's crazy
I
for
spent
anyone.
I spent not too long ago, I think it was like $250 at the time. The X-Men Mansion. I'm a big X-Men fan. The X-Men Mansion that came out. And the other set I want to get is the Rivendell set for Lord of the Rings, but that one's also like $400. Lego's so expensive. Yeah, I just want smaller sets of Pokemon I like so I can start collecting them, because the one major thing I do collect are Lego minifigures, but not the yellow guys. I collect all of like the licensed ones for characters I like. So I have like 40 MCU minifigures of all the different heroes from the MCU. So I don't have like multiple Iron Man. I just have like Iron Man. So I have like one of each, right? I have like 40 different ones because I love the MCU. And then I have the Mulan and the Pocahontas minifigures, because those are my two favorite Disney princesses. And I have a couple other random ones, but I collect Lego minifigures. So that I would hope they come out with some Pokemon Lego that are affordable, or at least Pokemon I like and bite my tongue while I spend money on them. And then what else? I hope that Pokemon fixes the scalper issue so kids and other people can afford Pokemon cards, because I'm assuming they're going to have some really cool sets for the 30th anniversary, but the people who actually love the series and are not trying to earn $1 on them probably won't be able to get a hold of them, unfortunately. That's kind of the reality these days with the Pokemon card game, unfortunately. And a new movie. There hasn't been a new movie since 2020. They stopped during COVID. There hasn't been a feature film. So that'd be cool too. Yeah, I love Pokemon, man. I just hope Gen 10's good, honestly. And maybe they announce a new mystery dungeon, or one of my favorite Pokemon games of all time that no one has really played is Pokemon Pinball. I wish they returned to that series, and they never did. Because, pinball games, all the rage in 2026. But yeah, it'd be fun. Honestly, my dream would be if they found a Pokemon that rolled into a ball. I can't think of one off the top of my head. Maybe like Chestnut or somebody. I don't know. Did you ever play Roku Island Express?
No, but I know what you're talking about.
It's a pinball platformer game where you're a little insect, and it's one of the most creative ideas for a pinball-based video game I've ever played. Awesome. Highly recommend anybody who loves pinball or video games or just indie games. Highly recommend. I was put onto the game by one Don Casanova from Easy Allies fame on one of their streams one time, and I loved it. I'm not even a huge pinball guy, but I just loved the originality because I love platformers. Anyways, I would love a Pokemon game like that. It will never happen, but maybe, bring my idea of a new Pokemon pinball and do it that way so maybe it sells more. But yeah, I don't have too many aspirations. I just want them to celebrate in a way fans can have fun with, and create some dope Pokemon 30th anniversary merch that isn't just like a Pokeball pattern or something ugly that I can't buy because it's Pokemon, but it's not fashionable in any way. I'm not even a fashion guy, but I don't want to wear ugly stuff, so make stuff that isn't ugly. And your third question, you got a third one for me, right?
I did. I thought it would be good on this inaugural episode to ask why you're making the show.
So we talked about this a little bit before we started recording. I'm a psychopath, and I'm currently on a mission to watch every episode of the Pokemon anime in chronological order, including the movies. I have it marked out when you should watch each movie. I showed Max the sheet. It's crazy in the best way possible. I'm rating every episode and all that stuff. And I was working through it, and I was like, I really love Pokemon. It's a passion of mine for my entire life. I just love Pokemon, and I rarely get to share that enthusiasm with other people. And I know it's touched a lot of people, especially in my generation, the elder millennials. Or I guess not technically an elder millennial. I guess I'm like a mid-millennial, which is funny in its own right, taking that out of context. I'm mid-millennial. But yeah, I wanted to share my passion with that. And I know, maybe people don't keep up with Pokemon all that often, but everyone who loves Pokemon has memories of it. They have a passion for it. They have all of this stuff. And I think, especially as adults now, with the world being as dark as it is, we don't have enough opportunity to talk about like stuff we're passionate about or happy about. Like even the video game podcast, doing that, especially nowadays, there's a lot of negative news you have to talk about or you should talk about, right? With layoffs and AI, generative AI and all that stuff. So I just want to talk about something in a positive manner. Obviously, we talked about some stuff we didn't like about Pokemon as a franchise, but overall, just happy memories, fond memories. And as always, you know this, Max, a podcast gives me an excuse to talk to friends that I don't get an opportunity to talk to all the time because we're adults, we have responsibilities, we have our own like professional lives and all this stuff. So kind of gives us an excuse to carve out an hour or so to talk about something, whether it be video games or Pokemon. And yeah, I figured I would start this up. And low stakes. It's a monthly show. I'm not trying to do this all the time. It gives me enough of an in that I can, do this without putting a lot of pressure on myself. And I'm happy you were, stoked to be on this first episode with me.
Well, of course, I'm deeply honored to join you on this inaugural episode.
And just because you were a guest once doesn't mean you can't be a guest a second time. Obviously, we would have to change up the questions and stuff like that, but it'd be dope to have you on eventually. And I hope to maybe outside of the one-on-one interview podcasts, to maybe do like spin-off episodes of like our thoughts on this or our thoughts on that, more like subject-specific stuff that isn't like an interview show, which I think would be pretty cool. But yeah, excited to see what other guests I have. Somebody we talked about earlier before, Logan, has said he wanted to be on the podcast, which is awesome. I have other people in the mix that I want to bring on. I'm trying to bring on not only friends I've had on the internet for a while, I want to bring on people that I've seen online through different social medias that I know are Pokemon fans that I haven't had a chance to connect with. And we'll see where it goes from there. Once again, I want to shout you out, Max, for joining me. Please, we talked about the Max Frequency podcast and we talked about Chapter Select. We'll let everybody know where they can find those, where they can find you. The floor is all yours.
Yeah. maxfrequency.net. That will be the place where you can get everything. That is my blog where all of my writing goes, but you can also find the podcasts that Jerrad mentioned, the Max Frequency podcast and Chapter Select, which is a seasonal retrospective podcast where we bounce back and forth between a series, exploring its evolution, design, and legacy. We did a season on Pokemon Season 6, so if you want to hear all of my thoughts on all of the mainline games and or their remakes, because we've tried to play the ones that were most accessible, so we could, we played the likes of Alpha, Sapphire, and Omega Ruby, and whatnot. So you could check those out if you want more and more Pokemon. But those would be all the places to find me. Just maxfrequency.net. That'll get you where you need to go.
The link to his site and the link to that playlist you'll be sending me for the Pokemon specific Chapter Select season will be in the description on the YouTube version of this podcast. Real quick, Max, can you let people know a couple of other video game series you guys have done in that Chapter Select podcast?
Oh, absolutely. We are wrapping up Metroid Prime. Right now, I'm actually editing the Prime 4 Beyond, so by the time you listen to this, Metroid Prime will be out. We've done Resident Evil, Banjo-Kazooie, God of War, Paper Mario, all sorts of stuff. Castlevania is what we have our eyes set on next.
I really enjoy them. To me, you very much, more than anybody else in our like level of podcasting, give me NPR vibes in the best of ways. I just think your voice fits that kind of mold really well.
Well,
and you and Logan play so well off one another. You guys have been friends forever, and it's a really good dynamic. The chemistry is awesome, and you guys bounce off of each other really well. So I highly suggest anybody go listen. Like I said, website in the description below, and the playlist for the Pokemon series will also be in the description. What a fun time talking Pokemon. Thank you out there for listening to the very best podcast, episode 1. Here's hoping you catch them all, or at least work to become your very best. Goodbye.